Every creator who wants to make this a full-time job wonder how do they extract the maximum value out of their creative brand. And unfortunately, through that journey, they come across many myths or just completely wrong information about what are the priorities for certain players in the creator economy and how can they maximize that value and extract as much as possible to sustain themselves in long term. So in this video, I want to uncover the entire mystery behind who and how makes money in the creator economy so that you can better navigate that environment and understand what are the motivations for the key players in the creator economy, how to address those motivations, and how to ensure you can take care of yourself as well. Throughout the process, it all comes back to how do you understand the money flow in the creator economy. It's nothing more complex than that. There are certain players in the space. Each player has their own priorities and they are rewarded for achieving those goals. So in your case, understanding those priorities, understanding how they structure their goals and how they can achieve them will help you become useful for those individual players. And as a combined entity, as a creator within the creator economy, you can maximize your value through this process. The way you're going to start looking at it is first and foremost, you want to look at your principles. I call them kind of like alpha and omega of the creator economy. Those are your viewers and the brands. You see, without the viewers, there's nothing. If there are no eyeballs within the creator economy, if there's no one there to attract the attention, we cannot exist. None of it is even a starter. So, from the perspective of the viewer, we always need to ask ourselves, what are the key priorities for the viewer? The way I break down the viewer's priorities, they're usually in categories of three. It's either they're within the creator economy, they're consuming the content to be educated, entertained, or informed. And as long as we collectively as a creator economy address one of those three needs, the viewer's attention will be there. And that means we can start monetizing that attention by offering brands an opportunity to advertise their products and services to those viewers. Without the brands, without them investing their marketing funds into the creator economy, there are no platforms, creators are not getting paid, no one's making any money, and the viewer essentially is left with whatever the amateur content would be out there from just the hobbyists. So it's very important for us to ensure that the principles, the brands are there and they can sustain their business by essentially placing the ads, investing into the platforms, investing in the creators, acquiring some of the viewers. Those viewers going in and buying the products and services from the brands. And that creates that money exchange that loops through the entire industry and helps us all sustain our living. So whenever you think about why we're doing all of this and who is actually matters the most in this industry, it's the viewers who are ultimately for the fact that we satisfy their needs to be educated, informed, and entertained. We serve them ads, we serve them opportunities to buy certain products or services, and the brands who invest their marketing funds into this entire industry. And that's how we can all make money. Without these two principles, none of this can actually work. And that leads us to the next category, the transporters. I call them transporters because they're essentially the transporters of value through the creator economy. And those are the platforms like YouTube, Facebook, you can say your TikTok, Snapchat, any platform where the content can be hosted and when the viewers can come to consume that content is the platform. Then you have your agencies, essentially the companies that represent some of those brands and help them deploy their marketing funds. You have your brokers, usually your agents and your managers who help work between the agencies and the talent, being the creators, to help essentially find the right inventory for those ads that the brands want to place. And obviously the creators themselves. Most of you who are watching this video, folks like myself, who our goal is essentially to produce the kind of content that becomes an inventory that we will then sell so that the brands can place their ads against so that the viewer can consume our content and watch the ads and essentially both satisfy their needs and also potentially purchase a product or service from the brand. And so out of those folks, essentially, if we're thinking about the platforms, for the platform, the goal is very simple, right? They want to ensure that they have a place where A, folks can host the content so that the viewers can come and consume it, and then B, they can then sell that content as inventory slots for the brands to place the ads against. And that's where one of those myths come in where platforms are against the creators, platforms don't want to do XYZ, they're shadow banning people. None of it really matters unless you're really egregious in terms of the kind of content you place. In most cases, all platforms want is that they want quality content that the viewers will come to watch and that they can safely place the ads against. That's it. As hard as it gets. So whenever you think about yourself as a creator, as a player, as a value transporter in the creator economy, you're trying to decide which platform to go after, you can decide based on the kind of content they host and the kind of folks who come to consume it, or the brands that come to advertise it. There's no secret way by which brands, decide on how and who will be prioritized within the content game in their search algorithm. It's very simple. They want to keep the viewers happy so that the viewers keep coming back to the platform, so they need to ensure that when the viewer puts certain thing in their search criteria, or they come to get informed, entertained, or educated, they get the right content fed to them. So it's in platform's best interest to serve them the best content to address those needs. And for creators, that means that they need to understand what constitutes that best content for those viewers, and they need to produce it. And if they produce it, the platform will serve it to those viewers. And so once the platform takes care of their business and they essentially are solvent, they have the content, they can host it, they sell the ads, and they make money this way, we need to talk about the agencies. And the agencies are very straightforward. In many cases, the brands that are essentially trying to deploy their marketing capital, they just don't have enough of human power to go and create marketing campaigns, design them, make sure all the platforms are activated, make sure all the messaging is correct. So in that case, they achieve scale by hiring some of these agencies and essentially tasking them with executing certain types of campaign. And there are agencies that specialize in advertising with the creators, and there are agencies that specialize advertising on a very specific platform, but ultimately they're the key player because there's so many of them. And so many brands use them. All the major corporations usually have a Rolodex of like dozens of different agencies that they can deploy depending on the kind of marketing campaign they want to use. So they're the important factor within this space. And for the agencies, their needs are very simple. They want to make sure that they get continuously employed by those major brands, which means that once the brand comes to them and sets certain target, like run this campaign for these kind of platforms and I want to achieve X ROI, if agency delivers on that request, they will continuously be employed by those brands. So usually I think of agencies as kind of like proxies for the brands. Think about what the goals for the brand are, right? And it's usually they want to drive the awareness or they want to sell the product or service. So from that perspective, agency as a proxy will adopt the same goals, and they will either want to maximize the awareness, driving more views on a particular type of announcement, or they would want to help convert and sell more of that product and service for their brand. Very plain and simple. There's nothing more about it. And that's why it's important to develop some of those good relationships with the agencies, because if you have consistent relationship with an agency, they will know that you're a trusted source of inventory for their ads. They will continuously employ you as a creator to make sure that every time they have a new client who wants to go and place their ads against certain type of content, they know you very well, they know you're a trusted entity, so they're going to come to you and they will work with you on a continuous basis. So keep agencies happy, make sure you help them deliver and you understand the kind of goals that the brands hire them to achieve. And from that perspective, you will also be able to achieve the goals for the brand. And this way, you're essentially that positive figure for both the agencies and the brands within the creator economy. The next group it's worth for us to touch on are the brokers. And for the brokers, again, it's relatively straightforward. You usually have your managers and agents who work with the creators, or between the brands and the creators, between the agencies and the creators. And those are the folks who, again, give us scale. As a creator, it's impossible for you to go and have hundreds of conversations with different brands or different agencies to understand what fits your type of content. What kind of brand does it make sense for you to advertise with? And that's where you go and you employ the services of agents and managers. Managers, they're more business leaning, so they will, or they should, better understand the kind of business you're trying to build and the kind of content that you produce, so that they can help you strategically pick brands and marketing agencies to work with. For agents, it's a little bit simpler. They just want to attract as many brands to work with you. They will not always consider all the different permutations of the future evolution of your business as the manager would, but agents should still understand the kind of content that you produce, the kind of inventory you can offer to those agencies and brands, and what kind of brands you should partner with as a creator to ensure the messaging still fits. That if you're a cooking channel, you don't advertise, I don't know, machine oil, or if you're an entertainer, you don't advertise some sort of like deep taxing software. So in either case, agents should understand the kind of brands and agencies would fit best your content. Managers should also understand 2 to 3 years ahead what would make sense for you in terms of the partnerships and the kind of brands you want to work with and develop relationships with. And for you as a creator, you just need to understand what motivates them, which is usually the percentage of fee that you're going to get for making that sponsorship deal. And in manager's case, they might also have a portion of the equity within your channel if that's how you structure that agreement. And finally, you have the creators, you guys. Essentially, those are the ones who want to go and create the kind of content that they will feel satisfied with, right? In some cases, it can be very entertaining. In some cases, it can be very informative. It can be anything in between. Ultimately, as a creator, you will know what kind of content you want to create. Within the span of this entire value cycle within the creator economy, you really need to understand how that content fits within the entire schema. Because if you're making something very edgy, something very art housey that barely anyone watches, or maybe risque for brands to advertise against, you should not be surprised that your agent or your manager cannot really find you as many deals as they want. The platform itself does not necessarily promote your content as much because of that risque factor, right? So you need to understand how your content fits within that picture, and whether pursuing some of those brand deals is the best strategy for you, or whether you should go and maybe work some different angles to monetize your content. And same goes for how well you understand that need for the viewer to find the information that they're seeking, maybe some sort of education that they're seeking, or the entertainment. And how does your content address those needs? Because if you can figure out really clearly how your content address some of those needs, and you understand what kind of a risk factor, what kind of demographics you're addressing, you can be a creator who makes various different type of content. But once you understand what kind of value you address, you also then understand how risky and how popular that content can be, and what's your kind of like total addressable market in terms of potential viewers, because it always fluctuates depending on the niche that you're in. You can now start strategizing and thinking, okay, I understand how favorable this will be for the platform, how favorable this will be for the viewers, how favorable it can be for the brands. And you can start weaving your way through all of these parameters and start thinking about, okay, is there a way for you to modify the content, maybe to make it more attractive to certain type of brands you want to partner with, or maybe make it in a way that it's a little bit easier for your manager or your agent position as they're trying to make those deals for you? Or are you clear enough on how you address some of those values between education, entertainment, and information for the viewer? And could you change your content in a way that still keeps you happy as a creator, but also better addresses some of those needs? And continuously go through the process, continuously kind of like interrogate yourself whether you're doing the right things for yourself and for your viewer. And once you do, start thinking about how does it flow into the value transporters, right? How does it flow and affect the brokers, the agencies and their needs, platforms and their needs? And then again, come back and say, if you really clearly understand the viewer and how you address the viewer needs, now then how can you translate that into the value for the brand and the kind of viewer that you attract that will be very attractive for the brand itself? So from that perspective, again, there's nothing super convoluted. A lot of people think that there's some sort of like secret schemas and things are happening, and people kind of like have their own secret motivations, which some may. That's absolutely fine. Maybe 5 to 10% of the players in the creator economy will have certain secret motivations. But when it comes to purity, always follow the money, the value. And within that space, it's actually pretty self-explanatory. You have your viewers who want to be educated, informed, or entertained. You have your brands who want to sell their service or goods. And then you have all those value transporters like the platforms who want to host the inventory and find those brands to advertise. You have your agencies who want to help the brands achieve their goals. You have your brokers and agents who help create and foster the connections between the brands, the agencies, and the creators. And then you have the creators who just want to produce the content that they're happy with, but also within the parameters of, does it satisfy the viewers' needs? And is it brand friendly? Is it interesting enough for the platform to host so that you can go and create a very sustainable living for yourself? So that's it. That's all that it is. Now that you're hopefully better equipped and you understand how the value flows through the creator economy, you can see the motivations for different parties that you interact with as a creator. And then as you go on your journey, as you start questioning why your video is not performing well, why maybe you're not attracting the type of brands you're interested in, start thinking about them and their needs within this framework, within the framework of the principles of the creator economy as the viewers and the brands, and think about whether all of those transporters like the platforms, the agencies and the managers, the agents, right, the brokers, are they all aligned with you, and do they understand the kind of value you're trying to deliver and what you're trying to extract from it? And if you'll do it, I promise you, you'll be a lot more successful both with your content, but also with the type of brands that you start attracting. I hope this was useful. This is one of the videos that I want to make in a series of kind of like basics of the creator economy and how to think about your commercial strategy and how you think about the operations around your creator brand. So if you're interested in this kind of content, make sure to let me know in the comment section below what kind of other types of topic would you like me to cover. Other than that, I'll see you next Saturday. Peace.